My name is Greg, my pronouns are he, him, and I'm a trans man. So this is kind of a unofficial follow-up on my live about defying toxic masculinity and busting the alpha male myth. Thought I'd do it outside because I love being outside. So I'd really just like to talk about how that influences the trans community itself and how that can seep through to transmedicalists and Truscum. These are trans people who buy so much into the gender binary that they police and gatekeep other trans people. And they tell people when they think that they don't pass, they'll tell them when they think they shouldn't be wearing a certain thing, they'll tell them that they aren't valid until they get surgeries. And it's harmful to the community. It really is harmful to the trans community, and we should be sticking together. And these people say that they don't mean any harm by it, and they just feel like you need dysphoria to be trans. But what that does is it invalidates trans people, and it is gatekeeping and policing in a way that is not helpful, and it's not informative, and it's not true. So I do have dysphoria. I have top dysphoria and bottom dysphoria, and around my voice, and so many things about my body. And coming to the realization of this and getting help for it helped me to realize that that was largely the trigger for my anorexia as well. And it just made everything make sense, and I was able to start HRT, hormone, I'm sure. Sorry, I get distracted easily. I was able to start T injections, and so I'm on T, it'll be 12 weeks this next Tuesday. And it's helpful for me, and I want to get the surgeries someday, as people call them, the surgeries. I want to get them someday. I don't know if I'll ever have the funds to do so, but I know that it would help me. I know that I've been dreaming about that my whole life, and I was just severely in the closet before. And I'm seeing these people talking on these supposed support groups and policing each other and gatekeeping each other and telling other trans guys that they're not real because they haven't had surgeries, or telling trans women that they don't dress appropriately for their gender identity. And I saw that, and I thought that goes back to that alpha male myth and to toxic masculinity, because we may not realize it, but if we buy into that stereotype, we tell trans women what they should be wearing, and we try to gatekeep other trans men and invalidate them because they haven't had surgery yet, or because they choose not to, or because they haven't started T yet, or they choose not to. We start doing that, and we're buying into that toxic masculinity and the alpha male myth. And what this is, basically, we've been told that there's a certain way that guys should be, that guys should behave, that guys should look, and that if you don't look that way, then you're not a guy. We've been told that there's certain things you shouldn't do, like you shouldn't have certain interests or wear certain things, and that you're not a real guy if you like that. We've been told there's a certain way that women should look, and that women exist to please us, which can't be farther from the truth. But seeing it that way, in this toxic masculinity way, it causes us to try to inject that bullshit onto other people. And it ends up hurting trans men and trans women and non-binary people, because it puts these expectations on how someone expresses themselves, on what we think is appropriate, on what our traditions and what we've been ingrained to believe thinks is appropriate. And this is harmful because there's so many people that we're leaving behind with this. Whenever we become so caught up in this masculine sense of that people should basically dress up according to how we think they should look, they should fit the stereotype. When we push that on them, we end up hurting them. We end up creating more of this turf rhetoric, more exclusionary rhetoric that causes people to get hurt, that causes people like Ayana Dior to be beaten up like she was by, I believe it was 33 men. That's toxic masculinity. And when we give into that, and we give into that ingrained sense of this alpha male bullshit, we end up hurting people like her. And we end up hurting ourselves too, because it becomes where it's never enough. We see our transition as a final thing whenever it's actually a journey. And I've been guilty of that before. I've, in the past felt like I had to give up certain likes and interests to be seen as myself. And then I realized that I love flowers, and I love butterflies, and I love things that some people would not consider traditionally masculine. I love gentleness, and I love being an animal activist. And there's a lot of that this toxic masculinity doesn't buy. I mean, they don't believe that you can be interested in those things and still be a valid man.